So you just got your first 80s car and you want to soup it up with some cool period correct tech that you can't find in modern vehicles. Either because you just want to go back in time and feel the 80s nostalgia that everybody seems to want to feel right about now.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Or because you want to stand out at a car show, or maybe even just make your car more interesting for when you go on first dates. She's gonna hop in the car and she's gonna be like, dang, what is that thing? And you guys are gonna have the best conversation. She's interested and you know a lot about it, and it's just gonna start everything off right. Or he, I know it's 2024, I'm not gonna judge you. Well, maybe just a little bit. If I had my way, I'd have all 7 of these in my car, in my 4Runner and my Corolla, because all of these things just make the car so much cooler. And we're gonna go over 7 in this video. Now, the first one on this list is the infamous car phone. Everybody's seen these in old music videos, TV shows, or movies where the rich dad is driving down the street to work in his nice suit and his nice Mercedes, and he's talking on his phone, making business moves. And as a guy that watched these movies as a kid, I fell in love with them. Now, I've wanted one in my Corolla for so long, but unfortunately, they did not make a luxury item for a base model car. But if you have an old Mercedes, if you have an old BMW, a Toyota Cressida, or maybe even an old Acura, you have the possibility to add or have a sweet car phone. You can pick one of these up for around $40 on eBay and stick it in your center console and probably have one of the coolest props when you go to a car show. Now, unfortunately, it will not work, and believe me, I have tried and looked because I'm one of those guys that actually wanted to put one in my car and use it. But the analog signal that needs to call someone is no longer around, and there's been very few people able to make this work by adding new components into the inside to make this Bluetooth compatible with your modern phone. But hey, it's one of the staples of a luxury 80s car, and if you have one of these bad boys sitting in the center console or on the dash at a car show, you're gonna have one of the coolest car accessories there. Right up there with a guy that owns a Coke White Countach with a small glass mirror and sugar placed above his steering wheel. The second part on this list is a graphic equalizer attached to a cassette player. Now, since you could only get these on luxury top trims, and also people decided to take these bad boys out and throw them away to put in CD players, gay! These things are almost non-existent, and the ones that are still around go for some serious money. I have one for my 4Runner, and I think they go for like $600 to $700. It's pretty insane, especially since it's a hit or miss if they work or not. But it is such a neat and cool feature to have in your car. Not only is it good to customize how you listen to your music, although your stereo system from the 80s probably isn't that good. And let's be honest here, nobody really knows how to use these things. I just kind of move the dials up and down, and hopefully I get a good sound out of it. But also at night, when you're driving down the street and you turn your lights on, the backlighting is just so sweet, and it is just a nice thing to look at. For the third spot on this list, we have a CB radio. Now, these came stock on some cars like Pontiacs or Cadillacs, but most of these were installed aftermarket. And being that Smokey and the Band is one of my favorite movies, I love the CB radio. I actually have one in my Corolla, I had one in my 4Runner, but unfortunately it is not what it used to be. You cannot talk to the diners, you cannot talk to the gas stations, you cannot even talk to the Smokies. The only people that really still use them are truck drivers or fat, angry old guys.
Met her on my CB, said her name was Mimi, sounded like an angel come to earth. When I went to meet her, man, you should have seen her, twice as tall as me, 3 times the girl.
Especially channel 9, it's supposed to be used for emergencies only, and you have 2 old guys sitting in their barn with no clothes on yelling about when the alien invasion is coming. Supposedly it's supposed to happen next week on Wednesday. But the good news is you can still buy a CB radio new. I would recommend getting a Cobra, and let's bring the CB radio back. Everybody install one on their car after watching this video, invest $100, and let's make CB radios great again. The fourth amazing part you can get for your 80s car is an upgraded cluster. You might already have the top trim cluster, but if you don't, you most likely just have one with a speedometer. But what if you want the tachometer, the oil pressure, the boost gauge, and the coolant temp sensor? The things that new cars don't even have because they think we're too stupid to figure out what it means.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
I mean, I bet if you buy coolant, it's gonna say don't drink the coolant. If you buy a battery, don't drink the battery acid. Hell, back in the day, they used to show you how to adjust your valves in the owner's manual. We need to bring survival of the fittest back. But to get back on topic, the gauge clusters that have all this information on it are so rare to find nowadays that it's such a nice thing to have. You know exactly how healthy your engine is at all times. And again, looking at one of these at night is just a great feeling. Now for the 5th spot on this list, if the first owner of your car had a ton of money back in the day and they opted for for the super duper futuristic trim, then you could get yourself a digital dash. Because people had to shell out some good money to get them, they are quite rare for cars that didn't come standard with them, and unfortunately the production of them didn't last long because the fad ended, and eventually car manufacturers switched back to analog gauges because a lot of people just didn't like the digital dash look. Either the bulbs went out too often, or they were just old school and were like waving their finger at the dash because they didn't like it. Now that we look back at them with a lens of time, they look amazing and encapsulate that 80s styling. I have one for both my 4Runner and Corolla, and they just look amazing. The only downside is sometimes when they switch to the digital dash, they took away some of the readings. For instance, the A86 digital dash has a dummy light instead of an oil pressure gauge. So before you go on the internet and buy the first one you see, make sure it has everything you want to have in a cluster. For the 6th spot on this list, I really like this one even though it is completely useless. It is the auto seatbelts. In the 80s and even into the 90s, manufacturers are trying to make seatbelts more convenient to use. People didn't like them. I don't like them, but I'm scared of getting pulled over, so I wear it. Don't worry, cops. But it's just a pain in the ass, right? Well, that's at least what people thought in the 80s and 70s.
Seatbelts were gay.
Dude,
Now they're not.
I
don't know what happened. Whoever did seatbelts at
It used
fucking
to be
PR,
if you wore a seatbelt, you were a pussy.
kind of a pussy.
So what they decided to do was have an auto seatbelt that every time you got in the car, it would just swing right over and get you safe. The only issue is then you had to grab the lap belt and secure that in. So it kind of defeats the purpose because you only get half of it on, and if someone is too lazy to put their seatbelt on, they're not going to put their lap belt on, and then I don't think seatbelts work without both of the straps on you, so it's useless. Another thing is they like to break a lot, but great news is they have a lifetime warranty. Now it's not one of those warranties where life means 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, or that it's not transferable to the second or third owner. This is an actual, by definition, lifetime warranty. So no matter what happens, if your 240SX equipped with an auto seatbelt literally takes a tumble off the mountain, but it's still drivable and you did not tamper with any of the seatbelt motors or anything like that, you can take it into the dealership and they will fix it for free. You might have to wait for parts, but they will fix it for free. No matter if it's your 25th time going in or your first. It's pretty sweet that that's a thing. That's because the federal government mandates it. Now for the last spot on this list, the 7th spot goes to a passenger seat swamp cooler. You might have never heard that before, or you might be thinking about the swamp cooler that goes on the passenger side window that looks like a big old turbo bazooka thing. But for the 80s, they actually added some electricity to it. You plug it into your cigarette lighter so you don't need the airflow from outside, and you put ice in it and you got yourself an AC system, because a lot of cars in the 80s still weren't up to date with modern technology, and if you got a base model car, there's a possibility it wouldn't have AC. For instance, my Corolla doesn't have AC. I wish I could still find one of these nowadays because it'd be so sweet to put in there and actually be able to drive it comfortably. But unfortunately, these things are extremely rare and I can't find one for sale. If you do find one of these for sale for a reasonable price and you don't want it, send it to me. I'll buy it because I need this thing badly. The only downside of this is it takes up the passenger seat footwell, but the big pro is it looks sick for car shows. It looks sick just next to you and you're not sweating your balls off driving your car down the road. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.